And then objectives, writing learning objectives related to that, we have discussed about the 3 domains. So today I'm going to discuss about achievement tests, how to prepare an achievement test, steps of preparing an achievement test, and then characteristics of a good achievement test, characteristics such as validity, reliability, and then practicality, etc. Right. So let's start with how to prepare an achievement test. So there I found a good note in the module given to you. So let me share that description about this. Let me see. Right. So hope all of you can see this, and you have the document with you. Anyway, I would like to discuss from this document. It's planning achievement tests, right? So often these achievement tests are prepared by teachers themselves in the classrooms once they have to conduct achievement tests, maybe at the end of a term, at the end of the year, etc. When they want to see the achievement or the achievement level of their students, especially after teaching them for about 3 months or for 1 year, the teachers want to see how much the students have learned, how far they have been able to achieve the learning objectives. So therefore, many teachers prepare achievement tests. And this introduction tells us the construction of achievement tests for examining the students' achievement at classroom level is one of the teacher's most important responsibilities. So it's the responsibility of the teacher to prepare a good achievement test. So therefore, by following the given steps, we have 7 steps here. By following these 7 steps, teacher can prepare a good achievement test. And then that's the responsibility, and it's a part of the duty from the teacher's side. Achievement means reaching, obtaining, making. It is an instrument that typically uses a set of items designed to measure a domain of learning tasks and is administered under specified conditions. So specified conditions can be the setting that you arrange your examination hall in the classroom or in the school, where we keep a little distance between the candidates, between the students, and give a set time for writing an answer, writing answers. Then the number of questions limited, and we usually assign number of minutes for a particular question. There's a set way of giving marks. All these things are arranged. So that is an examination setting, examination environment. That's the specified condition we have. So these are the steps on building up an achievement test. You can see 7 steps: outlining the subject content, dividing the educational objectives or learning outcomes to be tested, building a table of specification based on the content and educational objectives, constructing relevant test items, reviewing and editing the test items, arranging the items in the test, preparing directions. So those are the 7 steps. You can easily understand what happens in these 7 steps. So let's see one by one. The first thing is outlining the subject content. A descriptive syllabus of any subject is considered generally in learning teaching process, but in planning tests, a summary of it is used. That is, the subject content decided to be tested are listed under the major topics or subtopics. For an example, if there are 15 units in a subject to be taught within the year, it is necessary to make questions to cover subject matters relevant to all 15 units at the year-end test. What we usually do is, yes, we take what we have taught the students. If it's a term end test, take the units that were taught only in that particular term. For example, if it's, let's say it's the second term. So if you are going to conduct the test for the second term, we don't usually include what we taught in the first term. If for any reason you were unable to conduct a test for the first term, okay, then in the second term you may add both, right? Because they hadn't been tested earlier. Therefore, usually what is taught, the content handled within the given the specified time period is used for preparing the achievement test, right? For it is 1 year, as the example given here. If you have 15 units, there should be questions from all 15 units. And the number of questions you allocate for each unit will be decided based on the amount of content we have for each unit. Now, for example, because all units don't have a similar number of content, a similar amount of content. Some units can be long and there can be very short units among them. So based on that and the importance, all the subject matter may not have the same importance at the level of that the students' level. So therefore, you can decide on the number of questions you include for a particular unit based on the importance of the subject content, subject matter, and the length, I mean the amount of content included in the particular unit. That's outlining. So it's a basic outline. You just before preparing the question paper, you just have a rough idea about how many questions are going to be in the paper and the length of the, I mean the time duration given for the question paper. Based on that, we decide what type of things will be included in the question paper, the achievement test. Then deciding the objectives or learning outcomes to be tested. The aim of learning or teaching a subject area is to generate a behavioral change in the student. The earlier, the most definition for education commonly accepted everywhere is that education is change of behavior. So if you learn something, there's a change of behavior at the end. Now, for example, it's not the physical behavior only. For example, if you say now the students, a student in grade 3 now, that's where we introduce English subject, right? A grade 3 student, when they go to the school, when they go to the class, they don't know how to write the alphabet. Let's say the letter A, they don't know how to write letter A, right? So at the end of the lesson, if the child knows how to write the letter A correctly, then that is the change of behavior. Because after that day, the child will be writing the letter A correctly. So that's a change of behavior, right? For another example, if it's a maths lesson, right? And if the child didn't know division, and the teacher teaches the division on that particular lesson, after that lesson, the child is able to make divisions. So there's a change of behavior. If we take another example, like we teach them good habits. Wash your hands well before taking meals, right? Before the lesson is conducted, the child didn't know how to wash the hands correctly. They just poured some water to the hand. They believed that was washing, right? But we give the correct technique of washing hands during the lesson, and after the lesson, they are able to wash their hands correctly. So that's the change of behavior. Right? So they are the learning objectives or learning outcomes. So now the second sentence says it is a change of three domains such as cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. We have discussed these things earlier. Behavioral changes linked with instructional objectives. We learned instructional objectives. I told you that there are two types as instructional and behavioral objectives. When generating the behavioral changes, objectives are decided in accordance with the accepted classification. So classifications can be the three domains. Move to the last paragraph. Objectives of cognitive domain are more useful in measuring achievement in written tests. In performance tests, psychomotor abilities are evaluated mostly in a higher weight. To get effective measurements, rating scales, ordinal scales, attitude tests are used. So that's where we see totally agree, partially agree, neither agree nor disagree, things like that. Right. Yes, so that's the second step, right? So in the second step, we decide the objectives or the learning outcomes to be tested, right? Decide which learning objectives you are going to handle in this test, right? What type of knowledge, what type of attitudes, what type of psychomotor abilities will be tested. Then one of the most important things, that is building up a table of specifications. We call it blueprint. We prepare a blueprint for the question paper, right? So that's where we include the number of questions, how many questions will be there in the paper, the total number of questions and the types of questions. And we divide these types of questions and the number of questions among different parts of the units, the lessons, right? So building up a table of specifications, the description says, content validity is an important factor in a test. So we must make sure that all content of the lesson is covered. In constructing a test item should be made in such a way to secure this characteristic and cover the relevant subject content. Objectives and learning outcomes are considered in constructing items. The test maker is able to construct a test which covers the entire subject area, including questions under every topic. Right? So if we prepare a good table of specifications or a good blueprint, we can cover the whole syllabus within the question paper. And this is a way of improving the content validity of a test. Right? We will discuss what content validity later. So what happens here is, as we decided in number 2, step number 2, we decide what type of learning objectives will be covered here. So the learning objectives will come to one side of the specification table, right? Then now, for example, if it is knowledge, I mean the cognitive domain, so we put the 6 levels of Bloom's taxonomy to one side and the number of units to the other side of the table. I will show you an example of a table. Then based on them, we decide the number of questions we are going to include. Look at this third paragraph here, the small one. A table of specification is a table which is made appropriate to make a test to measure the expected learning outcomes and the subject content. Right? So then it explains how a table of specification is made. Look at this long paragraph. Second sentence, a table of specification for a multiple choice test is given below. Okay, let's look at that one. So you can see a big one here. Let's see. Let me reduce this a little. All right, now it's clear. So here you can see table of specifications. The subject and the grade are given, question numbers and subject content. Right now, whoever the paper setter has decided to have 40 questions here, right? And then the subject content is divided. So for natural resources of Earth, these questions are allocated, right? So you can see the question numbers are here and the number of questions, the total number of questions from this particular unit, right? So you can see 4 questions, right? Here is 3 questions for number 3, right? So almost 3 and 4 questions are going, and for some units there are no questions at all, right? Sorry. After that, you can see the education category, right? Let's see. I will increase the size. So you can see the number of questions, right? So the first question 1, is going to check knowledge, right? And question 2 again knowledge. So like that, up to this level, it's knowledge, right? So all these, the first few questions will be checking the knowledge of students, 7 questions. And then the 6 questions are there, the second 6 questions, comprehension. Like that, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All 6 levels are tested. And often equal number of questions are included, right? So we know that question 1 is from unit 1, right? Natural resources, and it checks the knowledge of students, right? Question 2 is from unit 4, and it checks knowledge again. So like that, we can decide, right? We decide, or we prepare the specification table or the blueprint, and we prepare the test paper according to that. So let me go back. Right. So that's a model of a good specification table. Okay, next we go to the qualities of a test: validity, reliability, and practicability or practicality. So let me stop sharing this one for a moment. Right. Good. We have about 6 to 7 members. Now, do you have any questions about this, the blueprint? No questions, it seems. Right. So if you don't have questions, it's my time to ask questions. Right. Before I ask questions, let me show you another simple blueprint. Then you will easily understand this. So you can see learning objectives based on Bloom's taxonomy. Right. Now here we have taken only the first three levels, right? Knowledge, understanding, and application. Now here you can see topic 1.1. That's the first lesson, right? In the first part of the first lesson. We are including two questions to check knowledge, one question for understanding and one for application. And when it goes to the second part of that topic, 1.2, two questions for knowledge, two for understanding, one for application. So like that it goes. Now you can see for topic 1.3, there are no application questions, but only knowledge and understanding questions. All right. So that's a very simple example of a blueprint, right? So here we have included only knowledge, understanding, application. So when it comes to the bigger test, you can include all 6 levels and you can include downwards all topic levels. You can see another example here from the lesson 1 subtopics and the number of questions included. So for the first unit only, we can see 13 items. And this can be a unit test also. If you are preparing a unit test, again, you can follow a specification table for that. Here's a big one, you can see. Right. So it goes to 3 lessons and you can see the 3 knowledge levels, knowledge, understanding, application, right? So we don't limit ourselves there, right? We can go to the other 3 levels of the cognitive domain, right? So that is enough about it. Right. So good. Since you don't have any questions, I'll give you a question, a small activity, right? I know that you are teaching different subjects. So can you please prepare a small group blueprint or a specification table for a term test? So think that you have taught 3 units, but here you have to use the real names for the 3 units, right? Not unit 1, unit 2, unit 3. Put the names of the 3 units, whatever grade you teach, right? So for if it is example, if it is mathematics, you say division, subtraction, or whatever it is, like 3 units. And if it is English language, you can put unit 1 as what is grammar, or there are unit names. In our textbooks, we have lesson names or unit names, so you can put them like environment, then caring for elders, sports and recreation. So there are names like that. So I want to see some names, let's say three names of 3 units, and to the other side, the 6 levels of Bloom's taxonomy. And just let me see how many questions you include for each part, right? This is just for practicing. Take about 5 minutes. You can do it in 5 minutes. It's just putting some numbers, 1, 2, 3, right, within boxes. I will share that document again where we have a small blueprint, so you can follow it and prepare your table of specifications, and then you can add them to the chat. Take a photo and add it to the chat, then we can see it. Right. Okay, you can start. I give you about 5 to 7 minutes for this. Then let's discuss. If you have any problems about it, you can ask. If not, let's see how much you have understood about the blueprint. So here's the blueprint. Look at this one and prepare your blueprint. Yes, our blueprint. Right. So this is where I want you to put the lesson name. Instead, lesson 1, 2, 3, you put the lesson name. If you want, you can put subtopics. Even without subtopics, you can write. And include all 6 levels here: knowledge, understanding, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. Or you can go to the new one. And the number of items you will include for each part, and finally how many total items you will include in your test. Right. Okay. Take 7-8 minutes and prepare it, then show it to us. We'll have a discussion after that. Right, start. No questions, I think you understood the task. Okay, hope everybody has understood. Please continue with the activity. All right. I don't see any answers. Participants, are you there?
So can you give us 5 minutes?
Okay. All right. Right. Okay. Take some more minutes. Don't take it too seriously. Just I want to see just a model with some numbers. Right. So hope you can see the answer I received from Tarani. It's about maths, grade 2. You can see 3 units there: addition, counting in twos, ascending and descending order. Right. So then we have two subtopics for each, and then knowledge, understanding, application. Right. So these are not the only 3 areas you can test. You can test the other 3 areas also. Now for grade 2, it is okay, understandable that they may not go, they may not be able to go beyond that. But for other grades, you can include the areas like analysis, synthesis, evaluation, etc. Okay, this is a good model. You can see the number of questions, right? And total 47 questions. I don't know whether we stop in such numbers in a test. Never mind, it's okay. So we have 47 questions for this question paper. Right, yes, that's a good attempt. All right. Anybody else who would like to try? No more answers. All right. Anyway, I can see that you have some understanding about it. Let's move to the next part. Characteristics of a good test. I would like to start with something simple. Okay, let's look at this document first. It gives us 3 characteristics. Qualities of a test. There are several basic qualities of a test. They are validity, reliability, and practicability. Right. So I believe that practicability is easy to understand. So let me first discuss about practicability. Here's a small document about all these things are there. So there's a small paragraph about practicability. So let's look at it. You can see it. Says practicality or practicability, both are same. Some people call it practicability, some people call it practicality, right? Which refers to the economy of time, effort, and money in testing. Economy of time, effort, and money in testing. In other words, a test should be easy to design, easy to administer, easy to mark, and easy to interpret the results. Moreover, according to Brown 2004, that is practical. It needs to be within the means of financial limitations, appropriate time constraints, easy to administer, score, and interpret. So those qualities should be there if the paper is high in practicability or practicality. Right? A paper, if you cannot conduct it easily. Now, for example, you are working in a rural school and there's an English test where you have to use a listening test. You have to use a CD player and some sound documents, right? Which are not available at the school. So the practicability of the test is lost. We can't conduct it there, right? And if you take another example, there's a it is an intelligence test. An intelligence test where the students have to do some activities. They have to make some models, and there are about 200 candidates. So how can you get about 200 people prepares these models if you don't have enough instruments there? So the practicality is lost. And if it is something like, okay, let's say the listening test again, right? and in a place where you don't have electricity. So the practicality is lost. That's why we say that we should be able to easily conduct the test. Otherwise, it doesn't become practicable. The other thing is the value of money, economy of money. If the question paper contains about 20 pages and there are about 100 candidates, so how much paper is wasted? How much money you want for that? And it needs some extra materials, like you need to submit them with log sheets, log metrics, and then graph sheets, and then even in some places calculators. So it costs a lot. How can you find all these materials, facilities? So the practicality of the test is lost. And the effort the people have to take. So if it involves a lot of practical activities and you have to bring in a lot of instruments, tools, how can people do that? It's a lot of effort. So again, practicality is lost. So we have to be able to conduct the test easily within the given time and with a minimum amount of expenditure. Then the paper is high in practicality or practicability. If once the paper is administered, the students complain, right? We don't have enough time to write answers. They are long questions, they need long answers, right? So this time is not enough. So that is also a problem of practicality. So those are some issues related to practicality. A good test should be high in practicality. We should be able to easily conduct it. The candidates should be able to write answers well, and then we should be able to mark them easily. Right now, for example, if there are very controversial issues and very lengthy answers are required, the candidates have written pages and pages. So when it goes to marking, the markers find it very difficult to mark, tiresome marking. So again, the practicality of the paper is lost. And then we should be able to easily analyze the results, interpret the results. If analyzing and interpreting the results are also difficult, then again, it's not a practical paper. I mean, a paper with high practicability. So when we set a paper, we have to think about all these things, practicality. And now let's look at validity. The term validity refers to whether or not a test measures what it intends to measure. The term validity refers to whether or not a test measures what it intends to measure. On a test with high validity, the items will be closely linked to the test's intended focus. For many certification and licensure tests, this means that the items will be highly related to a specific job or occupation. If a test has poor validity, then it does not measure the job-related content and competencies it ought to, right? And for example, if it's a driving test, right, we have to test the driving ability and the knowledge of road rules, right? If it is testing something else, like if there are questions about the electrical system of the vehicle, that is also will be important, right? But there are more important things, right? And if the question carries about, let's say it's a driving test, the local driving test, and the question is about air traffic control, right? It's not a valid test. It should measure, it should test what we really want to test. For example, if it's a speaking test, like in English, it's a speaking test, you give a question for the candidates to write a dialogue. So they can write a dialogue, but that is not a real speaking test. We don't check their speaking ability. It will show the dialogue will show a little about the functions and their knowledge, but the ability is not tested. So if it's like question paper on mathematics, addition and subtraction, right? You give them some science questions, so the validity is lost, right? So if it is a valid test, it should really test what we really want to measure, what we really want to test. Let me see if we can find some questions, example questions here. Right, it's not there, right? Let me type a question here. I'm going to type a question. Right, so look at this question. All right. I will say, sorry. And we have a blank. And this is going to be, let's say, a listening test, right? It's going to be a listening test. We are going to read a text, or we are going to make students listen to a text read by somebody and find the answer. And this is for, let's say, grade 9 students, right? What do you think about the validity of this test as a listening test? Any comments about it? Is this a valid test for listening or invalid? If the students are with me, they can switch on their mics and speak. Or type your answer in the chat. Valid or invalid?
Invalid.
Yeah, okay. Let's say we say it's invalid. Why is it invalid? I agree with you. That's not a valid test.
Because the students know the answer.
Yes, right. If it's grade 9 and if they are studying the history in Sri Lanka, local students, they should know the answer. There's no need of listening to anything, right? So this is not a valid listening test, right? Let's take another example. I'm taking the same one. Now, what about this for a listening test? We have a blank here, right? And we give this as a listening test. What's your idea here? Is it a valid listening test? Do you think it's a valid listening test?
No.
Yes. Why is it again? Why do we say it's not? Yeah, I agree that this is also invalid. Why is it invalid?
No need to hear students. No need to hear the test, they know what is the grammatical function. Yeah.
Yes, so it's a grammar question actually. It's not a listening test, right? Of course, it's a grammar question. If they know the grammar, they can find the answer here. There's no need of listening to the questions, right? It's not a valid listening test, right? Let me stop share this one. And I have received another answer for that blueprint. So let me share it with you. Yeah, table of specification. Here again, it's mathematics for grade 6. Right. So we can see MCQ questions, 20 questions there, question number and content, circles, place value, mathematical operations like that. We have 8 topics. And in the educational expectations, you go to the 6th level. This is good, right? So we can see 20 multiple choice questions, and the first 3 questions for knowledge, the second 3 questions for comprehension. So likewise, it goes. Finally, you include about 5 questions for the evaluation. There's a good test, right? And scattered the questions, you have scattered questions equally everywhere. We can see 2, 2, 2, 1, 2. Only 4 questions for this unit estimation and rounding off. This is good, right? It's a good attempt. Thank you very much for that answer. Right, let's continue with validity. Let me further explain validity. I'm going to share a PowerPoint presentation with you now about validity. Where is that? Let me find that PowerPoint first. Yeah, so this has information about all 3 qualities. So anyway, let's look at validity first. Now this speaks about several characteristics: validity, reliability, objectivity, and practicality. Yeah, objectivity is also an important characteristic. Sorry. If it's valid, we have to ask this question: does it measure what it is supposed to measure? So if it is listening, is it really testing the listening ability? Right. If you want to check the knowledge of science, is it really testing it? If you want to check the ability of the children to apply the laws about, let's say, Newton laws, is the question really checking it, right? Reliability is how representative is the measurement. We will discuss it later after validity. Objectivity means, do independent scorers agree? I think you know about objectivity and subjectivity. It's like often in these essay type questions, if marked by 2 or 3 examiners, 2 or 3 markers, there can be slight variations in the marks. For example, if the total mark is 15, the first marker will give 13 marks, and the second marker might have given 12 marks, and the third marker again may have given about 11 marks. So there can be slight variations, right? There is subjectivity, right? There can be major variations also, but if there are major variations, it's a big mistake in the it's an error of the test. Right? So objectivity means reducing this ability of variations among the marks, right? So for example, if it's a multiple choice question, there's only one set answer. So for whoever marks it, there cannot be changes in the marks. So example, if you give 10 multiple choice questions and there's a particular student who answers all correct, so it should be 10. Whoever marks it should be 10, right? I can mark it. So there are exact 10 answers. So I have to mark them correct, right? And if one of you is marking it, right, again, you can't mark anything wrong because the child has answered correctly and there's only one set correct answer. So that is high in objectivity. Whoever the marker is, whatever the condition of the marker is, whatever the condition of marking is, right, nothing affects the mark. But if the question is subjective, the condition of marking may also affect. If the marking environment is good, the markers will read the questions leisurely and give the deserved mark, right? If the environment is not good and they want to leave that place quickly, so they will quickly go through the answer and give some mark. So there's a difference, right? That is subjectivity. The good characteristic is objectivity. So we should try to make a question paper, a test, more objective as possible. Right? We can't reach the 100% objectivity because we need to have some essay type questions where the students are free to write their answers. So therefore, when they are freely writing answers, and when the examiners are marking freely, there can be some variations among the marks. Right, so that's objectivity and practicality we have discussed. Easy to construct, administer, score, and interpret. Right. So we came to the slide validity. Just let me know, can you see the slides moving? Do you see the validity slide now?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay, right, good. Validity refers to whether or not a test measures what it intends to measure. A test with high validity has items closely linked to the test's intended focus. A test with poor validity does not measure the content and competencies it ought to, right? So the competency can be let's say, competency is writes with correct punctuation marks, right? So if the expected text doesn't have the variation of punctuation marks, it has only full stops and commas, then we can't test the knowledge of punctuations. So it should have that quality. So the validity we divide into 5 types. We divide the validity into 5 types. The 5 types are content validity, construct validity, concurrent validity, predictive validity, and phase validity. Right. So we have 3 C's, P and F. Right. Content, construct, criterion. Sorry, not criterion. Content, construct, concurrent, predictive, and phase. So we put these 2, concurrent and predictive, together and call them criterion related validity. Right. So in other words, the criterion related validity is divided into 2 as concurrent validity and predictive validity. So let's look at them. The first one, content validity, is related to objectives and their sampling. In a simple manner, content validity means how far the question paper covers the whole syllabus. If there are questions scattering through the whole syllabus and covering most of the areas of the syllabus, we say that the question paper is high in content validity. There's good content validity in it. If we prepare a good specification table or a blueprint, it's easy to achieve high content validity. So actually, the specification table or the blueprint is prepared to ensure content validity, right? Construct validity means referring to the theory underlying the target. Now, for example, as teachers, we know that there are so many theories related to, let's say, intelligence. Different people have spoken about intelligence in different manners, right? For example, now the psychologist, now Howard Gardner speaks about multiple intelligence theory, right? So if you are following the Howard Gardner theory, there should be the intelligence test should cover those 8 or 9 areas of the multiple intelligences. There should be questions for verbal intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, and the musical intelligence. For those areas, there should be questions. So construct validity means that if it is covering a particular theory, right? So the question should be related to the theory. Then criterion related to concrete criteria in the real world. It can be concurrent or predictive, right? So let's look at these two. Concurrent validity means correlating high with another measure already validated. For example, like let's say we have standards for national level tests, right? And if a teacher can prepare a question paper very much similar to the national standard paper, and when the people look at it, people say, it just appears like the national level test paper. In the difficulty level also, it is very much similar to the national level paper. So then we say it is high in concurrent validity. And predictive validity means capable of anticipating some later measures. So if the paper is good, now just imagine that you give a model paper to your students. Let's imagine that it's the O-level test. We are giving a preparation test for the O-level students. About 10 of our class students are able to score beyond 75. Right? And when they go to the national level test, again, we see that most of these students within that 10 group, right, they have scored more than 75 in the higher level test also. So then we can say the model paper is high in predictive validity. It has correctly displayed the type of mark the students will achieve in the national level test. That is predictive ability. In other words, like we can say that the grade 5 scholarship examination can be, in some places, it can be high in predictive validity. If it is high in predictive validity, the students who score well in that test should be scoring well after that also. So in the O-level also, those who have passed the O-level, the grade 5 scholarship exam with colors, should have good results in the O-level exam also, right? So we know that, but it is not happening, it is otherwise. So then we can say that the grade 5 scholarship examination is not high in predictive validity, right? For example, if you take the A-level, right, and the students who pass well in the biology sector perform well in the universities and they become good doctors, then we can say the high-level exam high in predictive validity, because it can predict the future performance of the students, right? Last one is face validity, related to the test overall appearance, right? So it's like 40 questions every day, and that time also it's 40 questions, and the students have no complaints. Instructions are clear. The questions are printed nicely. It's easy to find the parts sections of the questions. Handling the question paper is easy for the students. There's enough space for writing answers. Then we say the face validity is high. Usually the face validity is a judgment given by the candidate themselves. The students who sit the paper, they give a judgment about the face validity, right? Just after the exam, their comments are much more related to the face validity. Right. So we have some descriptions. Let's quickly go through these descriptions. Content validity. Content validity refers to the connections between the test items and the subject related tasks. The test should evaluate only the content related to the field of study in a manner sufficiently representative, relevant, and comprehensible. Right. Let's move to the second one, construct validity. It implies using the construct, concepts, ideas, and notions in accordance to the state of the art in the field. Construct validity seeks agreement between updated subject matter theories and the specific measuring components of the test. Example, a test of intelligence nowadays must include measures of multiple intelligences rather than just logical, mathematical, and linguistic ability measures. The author says logical, mathematical, and linguistic ability measures because that's what we commonly see in many of these intelligence tests. Many of the intelligence tests have questions related to verbal logical thinking or mathematics, finding out the patterns of mathematics, etc. But now we have multiple intelligences like musical intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, spatial intelligence. So there should be questions related to spatial intelligence, etc. Right? So we see even in the grade 5 exam, we see some spatial intelligence questions. One shape is given, and then the students have to judge how it is visible from the other side. That's a spatial intelligence question. Right, quickly move to the next one, criterion related validities. Referred to as instrumental validity. It is used to demonstrate the accuracy of a measure or procedure by comparing it with another process or method which has been demonstrated to be valid. Examples, imagine a hands-on driving test has been proved to be an accurate test of driving skills. A written test can be validated by using a criterion-related strategy in which the hands-on driving test is compared to it, right? So then, if it is a criterion-related validity, we should be able to prepare a written test, right? Where the driver is exactly able to explain the way of driving. So we know that once the vehicle is given, they can drive safely, right? Concurrent validity. It uses statistical methods of correlation to other measures. Examinees who are known to be either masters or non-masters on the content measured are identified before the test is administered. Once the tests have been scored, the relationship between the examinee's status as either masters or non-masters and their performances is estimated based on the test. That is pass or fail, right? So this may not be easy to understand, but so you can go with that, what I said, concurrent validity. That is the standard similarity to the standard test. That is concurrent validity. Right, predictive validity estimates the relationship of test to an examinee's future performance as a master or non-master. Predictive validity considers the question, how well does the test predict examinees' future status as masters or non-masters? For this type of validity, the correlation that is computed is based on the test results and the examinee's later performance. Right? So today's exam result should predict how they will study in the future courses. That is predictive validity, right? So the face validity determined by a review of the items and not through the use of statistical analysis. So it is not a scientific analysis. It is not a statistical analysis. It is the general comments given by the examinees, people who sit the exam. Unlike content validity, face validity is not investigated through formal procedures. Instead, anyone who looks over the test, including examinees, may develop an informal opinion as to whether or not the test is measuring what it is supposed to measure, right? So usually, when you ask these questions, like at the end of the exam, right? Once the students come out of the examination hall, we just ask the question, how is the test? Then they say, not bad. The paper was printed nicely. The letters were clear, right? We had enough paper to write answers. So that is the face validity, right? They say, අපි අහපුවාම කොහොමද paper එක මම අනේ ඉතින් වරදක් නැහැ ලස්සනට print කරලා තිබ්බා. බොහොම පැහැදිලි ප්‍රශ්න. Right? Actually, of course, many of them it is say that jokingly, but that is face validity. They are understanding about it. All right. So that's also a measure of validity or a good quality of the paper. Right. Let's quickly try to move to the next one. That is reliability. So let me find another presentation about reliability. Where is that? Give me a minute, there was a document about it. Right, so let's first see. I will share that Word document with you about practicality and validity so that you can keep it as a note. That's the other one. All right. Okay. Now let me share this document with you. Now this one also speaks about all three qualities. So let's go through validity quickly because we have discussed it. Right, so let's look at reliability. Hope you can see it. Can you see this document?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Right, I'm just checking whether you are with me. Yes, how representative is the measurement? So let's go downwards and see the meaning of this one. How representative, right? Reliability is the extent to which an experiment, test, or any measuring procedure shows the same result on repeated trials without the agreement of independent observers able to replicate research procedures or the ability to use research tools, and it goes on like that, right? So just go with this first sentence. Reliability is the extent to which an experiment, test, or any measuring procedure shows the same result on repeated trials. Same result on repeated trials. right? Now we also believe that reliability is a quality of human beings. Or human beings also should be reliable people, right? Why do we call somebody reliable? Do you have reliable friends? And are we reliable? We say that the players should be reliable. Now, for example, if we take the example from our cricket team, our batsmen should be reliable. What do we mean by that? If we say the batsman should be reliable, what's the meaning of that? That means they should perform equally in every match, right? If a batsman is there who scores about 50 scores today, and tomorrow it's just 15, the next day 10, and again after some time again scores another 50, and for about 3-4 matches again goes out for 0, 5, 6, like that. That's not reliable performance. If they are reliable, they should be able to perform equally well every day, right? A test is also something like that, right? If it's a reliable test, it should show similar results. Now, for example, I give, let's say, I have 5 classes in my school, grade 6, there are 5 classes like A, B, C, D, E, right? So I give an English test to A, grade 6A, I have some average marks. And then I give the same test to 6B. So if we taught in the same manner, using the same syllabus, right, there cannot be big differences between the average marks of 6A and 6B, and even 6C, right? If the student levels are equal, right? The test results should be very much equal. And for another example, we give a test to about 2-3 groups of students, right? They learned in the same school by same teachers, the same syllabus, the same question paper. And the papers are marked by 2-3 different examiners. One teacher marks 6A, another teacher marks 6B, another teacher marks 6C, right? So again, if the test is a reliable one, there cannot be differences among the marks. Or let's say the 6A paper, the set of papers of 6A are marked by 3 different teachers. There are 40 question papers. So I first give the 40 question papers to Master Sunil. And then I give the same papers again to Master Nimal. After that, I give the question papers to Master Kamal. Whoever marks, right, there should be a similarity among the marks, only a slight variation, right? If there are big variations, huge variations between the marks, paper is not a reliable one, right? If it is reliable, we should see similar results whenever they are repeated. The same test, and we should be able to use it in different places, several places, for several groups of students with the same kind of result. Right. Can you give me a similar word for reliability? Like,
Responsible.
can you repeat it, please?
Responsible.
Responsible. Yes. Okay. Responsible. A word beginning with C. Let's say reliability is blank of results.
Commitment.
Accuracy.
Accuracy, I can accept, but there's a better word with C. It shows that we have the same result again and again, same way of performance. It's consistency. Very good. Yes, consistency. Right. Reliability means consistency. There cannot be changes of marks. there can be changes of interpretations. People should not be able to interpret the same result in different manners. So reliability can be tested in 4 manners, right? 4, 5. So according to the way we test the reliability, we divide it into we give different names, right? Reliability of equivalency related to the co-occurrences, I will explain them. Reliability of stability. So you can see the word consistency there. Internal reliability and inter-rater reliability or intra-rater reliability, right? So let's look at these, some examples for these. Right. So equivalency reliability. Equivalency reliability is the extent to which two items measure identical concepts at an identical level of difficulty. Equivalency reliability is determined by relating two sets of test scores to one another to highlight the degree of relationship or association, right? For example, a researcher studying university English students happened to notice that when some students were studying for finals, they got sick. Intrigued by this, the researcher attempted to observe how often or to what degree these two behaviors co-occurred throughout the academic year. The researcher used the results of the observations to assess the correlation between studying throughout the academic year and getting sick. The researcher concluded there was poor equivalency reliability between the two. Right, now it is difficult to understand. The equivalency reliability is something like this. Right, what happens here is usually, let's forget this description. What happens here is we take the same content, same syllabus, right? Okay, let's say the same specification table, and following that, prepare two different question papers, right? For example, like as we saw in that specification table, unit 1, question 1 is for knowledge, testing knowledge, right? So you prepare two different questions, testing knowledge, for the same unit, right? So the second question is for testing application in the unit 2, right? So the two question papers have two different questions, but it is checking application in the unit 2, right? So following this manner, we prepare two similar question papers. Same content, right? Same number of questions, same model of questions. Now, for example, the first 10 questions are multiple choice questions. So in both papers, the first 10 questions are multiple choice. Then you have two structured essay type questions. So both two structured essay questions and the structured essay questions are from the same units. So like that, we prepare two similar question papers, right? The model and the structure are similar. The content was also similar, but the questions are different. Only the questions are different, right? I mean, the words of the questions are different. So we give the two papers to the same set of students. We give the two papers to the same set of students. Both set of papers come out with similar results, we say the papers are high in equivalency reliability. They are reliable because it's the same content, same set of students. So if the papers are good, similar in quality, they should produce similar results. So that is equivalency reliability, right? Stability reliability, in other words, we call it retest reliability. So before we read the description, what happens here is we give the same question paper without any change. We give the same question paper twice maybe to the same set of students, right? Without teaching in the middle, right? Conduct the test twice and then compare the results. If the results are similar, then we say it's high in reliability, right? Let's say stability reliability is the agreement of measuring instruments over time to determine stability. A measure or test is repeated on the same subjects at a future date. Results are compared and correlated with the initial test to give a measure of stability. This method of evaluating reliability is appropriate only if the phenomenon that the test measures is known to be stable over the interval between assessments. The possibility of practice effects should also be taken into account, right? So we should be aware that the students are not taught anything related to the paper between the times the paper is repeated, right? For example, if we conduct the test today and reconduct it after 1 month, now within this month, there cannot be like any teaching for the same content, right? And we should know that there can be some effect because they have already answered these questions once. So that's that practice effect is there. Right? So when the results are analyzed, that practice effect should be considered, right? So practice effect only can result in better results. If the results are weaker or lower, then there's a serious problem about the reliability. So if we have similar results, then we say, okay, it's a reliable paper. You can use it to be conducted several times in future, right? Then something called internal consistency. Internal consistency is the extent to which tests or procedures assess the same characteristic, skill, or quality. It is a measure of the precision between the measuring instruments used in a study. This type of reliability often helps researchers interpret data and predict the value of scores and the limits of the relationship among variables. For example, analyzing the internal reliability of the items on a vocabulary quiz will reveal the extent to which the quiz focuses on the examinee's knowledge of words, right? So what happens here is we usually conduct the test to the same group of people. Sorry, the same test to two different groups and compare the results. Then see whether there's a similarity of the results. Then we say, okay, that is high in reliability. Right, so then we have inter-rater reliability. Is the extent to which two or more individuals agree. Inter-rater reliability assesses the consistency of how a measuring system is implemented. For example, when two or more teachers use a rating scale with which they are rating the students' oral responses in an interview. If one researcher gives 1 to a student response, while another researcher gives 5, obviously the inter-rater reliability would be inconsistent. So inter-rater reliability is dependent upon the ability of 2 or more individuals to be consistent. So inter-rater reliability means, in other words, we give the same test set of papers to be marked by 2 different people, right? And compare the results. So if we have similar results, then we say the paper is reliable, right? But if we have big differences between the marks given by these 2 people, then that means the paper is not reliable. Intra-rater reliability is a type of reliability assessment in which the same assessment is completed by the same rater on 2 or more occasions. These different ratings are then compared generally by means of correlations. If the same individual is completing both assessments, the rater's subsequent ratings are contaminated by knowledge of earlier ratings, right? That is something similar to the first one we discussed here. That is stability, reliability, test, retest, right? So this one is also conducted for the same person and marked by the same person without any interference in between. That is again intra-rater reliability. So whatever it is, reliability is tested usually by repeating the test, right? There can be several ways. One is that repeating the same test to the same group of people, or repeating the same test to different groups of people, or conducting 2 different papers based on the same syllabus, same content. So in any of these situations, if the results we get are similar, then we say the papers are reliable, right? If there are big differences between the results, then the papers, the question papers are not reliable. I forgot one. The other one is marked by 2 different papers. The same question papers, the set of papers marked by 2 different examiners. So those are the situations where, or those are the methods how we measure the reliability. And that inter-rater reliability, again, we can use another method which is called a split half method. What we do there is we divide the question papers, the set of answer scripts, into 2 and mark them. If there are, let's say, 40 questions within the paper, in the paper we divide the first 20 and second 20 as first 20 and second 20. Then we compare the results of those 2 sets and see whether there's any similarity. So that similarity is called the internal consistency of the paper, right? In some cases, we divide the questions as odd numbers and even numbers. You take the results of odd numbers to one side, take the results of the even numbers to the other side, and compare the results. So that's another kind of similarity. That is also internal consistency. So those are some methods of finding out the similarities, consistency of the papers. So if it is consistent, if the results are consistent, we say it is reliable, high in reliability. And of course, there's a way of calculation, right? We calculate something called correlation coefficient to find out the reliability. If the correlation coefficient is equal to 1 or +1, if it is very much similar to +1, we say that is a reliable test, right? If it is closer to 0, that is not reliable, less reliability, right? And in some cases, it can go to minus also, right? So if it goes to minus, then the reliability goes to the other side. It's a wrong reliability, right? Opposite reliability is there, right? So here you can see sources of error means the factors that affect reliability. These things or these people may affect reliability. First one is examining. The person who sits the exam, or the person who takes the exam. That is a human being. And the second person is examiner, another human being, right? Third one is the examination, designed by and for human beings again. So almost all the human beings are the people who affect the reliability, right? Let's see whether we have more details about this. right? No. For example, right, examining can affect the reliability. It's like this, right? Now, if you are repeating the question paper for the same examining, right? The first day the examinee was not in a good health condition, right? Suffering from headache, had some problems at home. So the mental status was not conducive for facing an examination. So it is 100% sure that the performance is weak, right? And in the second attempt, the examinee had good meals, health condition is good, right? Comes in a confident mind and answers well. So all these human characteristics affect the result, right? We don't know that. We just compare and say, oh my God, there's a big difference between the results. So therefore, the paper is not reliable. Of course, the reliability of the paper was affected by the examinee's condition, right? Same thing can happen with the examiner. Now, if you are like giving the same paper, set of paper, right, to two different examiners, right? One examiner, let's say, is not well experienced, right? Even the subject knowledge is poor. There's another examiner who is well experienced in marking and with high subject knowledge, right? So then really the results will be affected when these two people mark the two sets of paper. And the above mentioned human characteristic that we talked about the examinees, the same thing can happen to the examiner, right? There are about 50 papers to be marked within a day, and towards the end of the day, the examiner is dead tired, right? Now the results is affected. So the mental condition, the physical conditions, all those things can affect. Then the examination, right? The environmental conditions of when the examination was held or is held, right, may affect the performance of the examinees. And on the other hand, the environment of the marking center will affect the marking of the examiners. So therefore, this examination conditions will also affect, and even within the paper itself, right? If it's a lengthy paper and the candidates find it difficult to find the parts of the paper, sections of the paper, sections of questions, so that can affect the performance. So there are so many characteristics, elements that affect the reliability. Right, I think that's enough for today. So we have discussed some characteristics related to these. Would you mind please resend the PDF that had you sent to the group, because we couldn't open and study them earlier. We can't open it. So thank you. What is this PDF you are referring to? Who is Sudisha? Are you still here?
Yes, sir. So we can't open all the PDF that had you sent earlier because
All right. You mean that the ones I sent for the early lessons?
they have to resend the sender. Then we can open.
Do you mean the ones I added to the chat, or once I sent through Mr. Rizal?
The files that had you sent to the Mr. Rishad.
Okay, right. I will resend them, and with these documents also, right? Right, I will send them again, so you can take them from Mr. Rizal. I will tell him that you are finding So then I don't know whether now you will be able to open them when I send them again. So we don't know whether there are problems with, I mean, were you able to download them or were you trying to open them from the university site itself? Hello?
Yes, sir. I tried to open them in the group, but they were not.
Yeah, so the best
They were
thing
not
is to
open.
download them, I think. So, right. Anyway, I will resend them and you can try again. If failing that also, I will try to add these documents to the chat box while the lectures are going on. So then you can download them from the chat box and keep them with you. Then you can open them.
Okay, sir.
All right. We have discussed these concepts: practicability, validity, reliability, and objectivity also, the 4 concepts related to testing characteristics and preparing an achievement test. Right, I think that's enough for today. So we have another lecture on Friday. Let's see what we can discuss next day. And there's a way of calculation for reliability. So in another day, I will tell you how to calculate the correlation coefficient and find out the reliability of tests. Right then, that's all for today. And thank you for joining. Have a nice day. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Good
Thank
night.
Thank you
you.
very much,
Good
sir.
night.